Do any of you find history to be boring? Do you want to doze off as they start drifting back in time? Well, I have a suggestion for you. Why don't you check out some historical fiction books that bring history to life? When selecting the right book to read, you want to look for something that excites you. Something like war and loyalty, explosions and fear, life, love, and family. Look no further. I have just the book for you. The book I've selected is I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor. It's written by Lauren Tarshis and illustrated by Scott Dawson. If you're looking for a book to take you on an adventure, this is it. Take a trip back in time to 1941 as our story unfolds. Much of the world is at war. Germany is controlling a lot of Europe, and the United States have managed to stay out of the war for the most part. Allied and Axis powers had formed. The Axis powers consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Germany was led by Adolf Hitler. Italy was led by Benito Mussolini. And Japan was led by Emperor Hirohito. The Allied powers consisted of Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union, originally. After a surprise attack on Russia by Germany, they joined the Allied forces, and after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the United States and China both joined the Allied forces. Great Britain was led by Winston Churchill. The U.S. was led by President Roosevelt. Russia was led by Joseph Stalin. And France was led by Charles de Gaulle. The United States is on the rise from the Great Depression. It begins to emerge as it borrows and spends $1 billion to build its armed forces. U.S. manufacturing has shot up 50%, and after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the U.S. enlists more than 10 million men and women in the military, leaving factory jobs open everywhere for the economy to reboost. Beautiful day on December 7th as Danny lies in bed thinking of his plan to escape Hawaii and head back to the Big Apple. He and his mother moved to Hawaii last year so Danny could grow up in a safer place than the big city. His mother took a job as a nurse on base at Pearl Harbor. She is adjusting just fine, but Danny feels alone on the island and longs to be back in New York. Danny's only friend in Hawaii is a little boy named Aki. Aki is a 5-year-old Japanese American living with his mom and dad next door to Danny. Aki's free spirit and loving family make Danny welcome in their home. Despite his friendship with Aki and his love for his mother, Danny has other plans. He plans to leave his mother and Aki behind to be reunited with his best friend Finn. How is he going to do it? He plans to stow away on the next ship out of Pearl Harbor. It's a foolproof plan, so he thinks. Little does Danny know, but his plans are about to be drastically changed. He has no idea, but at 6:10 a.m., Japanese planes take off en route for Pearl Harbor. Danny packs his bag and makes his way out the back door as Aki stops him. That's when Aki pointed out the planes flying overhead. Aki knew a lot about planes, but something was different about these. Despite warning, Danny leaves Aki. 7:55 a.m. It begins to rain bombs and torpedoes. Danny is en route to Pearl Harbor as the attack begins. For the first time, this tough city kid is afraid. His heart races as he thinks of his mother. 8:55, the second round of attacks come as the planes circle back around. Danny stood there, frozen by fear. He watched as the plane got closer and closer until he could see the pilot. The man looked very young. He has a white rag tied around his head. He wore goggles. His plane had a big red circle on both sides. Danny remembered in Miss Millis's class she had pictures of all flags of the world lined up. Japan's was white with a red ball in the middle. The red ball was supposed to be the rising sun, but now all Danny could think of was a ball of fire. Where will he go? Will he escape? 10 a.m. The attack is over. Japanese planes head back to their bases. Pilots celebrate. Americans are in shock. The attack on Pearl Harbor took the nation by surprise. 2,388 American military personnel and 64 Japanese military personnel lay dead. Of the 48 civilians dead, is Danny one of them? Did his mom survive? Did he make it to Pearl Harbor? How will the United States respond to this attack? Fear of another attack leaves Americans paranoid. No one is safe. What will happen to Aki and his family? What will happen to all the Japanese Americans? And I quote, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people, in their righteous mind, will win through to absolute victory. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What happens to Danny? Will his mother survive? Will Aki's family be safe? Find out the answers and more when reading I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor, 1941. If you think you'll enjoy this book by Lauren Tarshis, she has also written several other books in the I Survived series, each with a thrilling portrayal of a major event in history. Visit laurentarshis.com to find out more about the series and the ideas behind the books.